Scientists have known for decades what actually raises human IQ. It's not an app, it's not a pill, it's not a breathing technique. And when you find out what it is, somewhere around point 1, you're going to feel a specific kind of betrayed, the kind where you realize you already knew the answer and have been aggressively ignoring it for years. But before we get there, we need to demolish 7 things you believe right now. Starting with the one that has a Grammy nomination and a very disappointed researcher. Point number 7, playing an instrument will raise your IQ. Probably. Ask the guy who proved it. In 2004, a psychologist named E. Glenn Schellenberg ran the most rigorous study ever done on music and intelligence. Random assignment, 144 kids, keyboard lessons versus drama lessons versus nothing. The result? Kids who took music lessons showed measurably larger IQ gains than the control groups. The effect generalized across subtests. It even predicted academic performance. The internet exploded. Parents enrolled their kids in piano at gunpoint. Then Schellenberg spent the next 20 years trying to dismantle his own finding. His 2024 review concluded that the evidence for music producing non-musical cognitive benefits is, quote, weak or non-existent. His best explanation for why his 2004 result looked so good? Music lessons function like school. Structured, small groups, require sustained attention. Any disciplined extracurricular activity with those features would probably produce the same IQ bump. Chess, drama, competitive knitting. The music was incidental. The sitting still and paying attention was doing the work. Your inner child who quit piano after 3 months was probably right.
Music as cognitive instrument was proposed by Pythagoras, who believed harmony structured the intellect. He also believed in the transmigration of souls into beings. His sample size was himself.
Your parents were wrong for the wrong reasons. Number 6 runs the same logic, except the industry behind it has a better legal team. Point number 6, brain training apps are extraordinarily effective at making you better at brain training apps. Lumosity, Elevate, Peak. The combined market valuation of turn your brain into a gym software runs into the billions. Your brain is a muscle, the pitch goes. Specific exercises build specific capacities. Train working memory, get smarter. The metaphor is elegant. The metaphor is also wrong. In 2016, over 70 cognitive scientists signed a consensus statement. Together, they concluded that the evidence does not support the claim that brain training programs produce lasting, generalizable cognitive enhancement. 70 scientists, one statement, the kind of unanimity you usually only see in physics. What actually happens? You get extremely good at the specific task you practiced. Pattern recognition in one particular interface. Reaction time in one particular game. None of it transfers to untrained tasks. None of it shows up on IQ tests. Your brain did not get a gym membership. Your brain learned one very narrow trick. You paid a subscription fee to become world-class at a video game designed to feel like self-improvement. The gap between those two things is where the business model lives. Number 5 involves actual chemistry and a $5 billion industry betting you won't read the studies. Point number 5, the smart pill industry is selling you elaborately packaged placebo at a significant markup. The global nootropics market is worth over $5 billion. Racetums, Lion's Mane, Alpha GPC, products with names engineered to sound like the result of a lab accident and a rebranding consultant working in the same room. Barry Gordon, neurologist at Johns Hopkins, summarized the scientific consensus with the precision of someone who has been asked this question too many times. There is no strong evidence that any currently available supplement reliably boosts cognition in people who are not deficient. Not deficient. That phrase is doing enormous structural work in that sentence. If your omega-3 levels are already normal, taking fish oil does not make you smarter. It makes your supplement supplier's Q3 projections look excellent. The one real exception, if you are genuinely deficient in something, omega-3, B12, vitamin D, correcting that deficiency can restore cognitive function that the deficiency was suppressing. But that is not enhancement, that is repair. You are not upgrading the hardware. You are plugging it back in and calling it an upgrade.
I attended the original symposium on omega-3 supplementation in Reykjavik, 1991. The consensus was inconclusive. The herring, however, was extraordinary. I have thought about it since.
Number 4 is not about what you're putting in. It's about what's been quietly gutting the architecture from the inside, and the damage is measurable under a microscope. Point number 4, chronic stress is not burning you out. It is physically restructuring your brain. This is not a metaphor. This is structural biology. Elevated cortisol sustained over time causes dendritic shortening in your prefrontal cortex. The neurons in the region governing your reasoning, decision-making, planning, and impulse control physically retract. Spines are lost, connections are pruned. The architecture degrades the way a building degrades when you stop maintaining it, slowly, invisibly, until something important stops working. This is the region that separates deliberate human reasoning from automated reaction. When it shrinks, you don't feel stupider. You just make worse decisions and cannot locate the reason. Your cognitive flexibility erodes. You stop noticing things that require cognitive flexibility to notice. The damage hides inside the thing it damages. To put a number on it, the prefrontal cortex is roughly the size of a lemon. Chronic stress is compressing what that lemon can do, while chronic stress also happens to be one of the primary things your prefrontal cortex is supposed to help you manage. That is not irony, that is the mechanism. The good news? The damage can be partially reversed. The less good news, partially, is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence, and the process requires sustained stress removal, which, for most people, is itself a significant source of stress. Number 3 hits the same region, through depression, with a treatment protocol that for 95% of patients does nothing about the cognitive damage specifically. Point number 3, depression doesn't feel like being less intelligent. It measurably is. Depression impairs attention, working memory, processing speed, decision-making, and cognitive flexibility. These are not secondary symptoms of feeling bad. They are documented, reproducible deficits on standardized cognitive tests. Your performance IQ drops. Your file IQ doesn't change. The IQ you're actually running, the one handling your conversations, your decisions, your problem solving, operates significantly below your baseline for as long as the episode lasts. Here's the specific cruelty. Researchers ran over 1,000 depressed patients through 3 common antidepressants. After treatment, 95% showed no improvement whatsoever in the cognitive deficits. 0. The drugs that successfully addressed the mood did not touch the cognitive impairment, because the brain regions governing emotional state and cognitive function are not the same regions. Fixing one does not cascade into fixing the other. There are millions of people walking around with their ceiling structurally lowered, who have been told the problem has been addressed and who are being measured, at work, in relationships, in every cognitive demand of daily life, against a potential they can no longer reach from where they're standing.
This is, against my better expectations, correct. The prefrontal cortex was not designed for sustained administrative suffering. Even Romans retired eventually. The lucky ones, at least.
Number 2 achieves the same effect in under 2 hours, and it targets the smartest people with specific precision. Point number 2, you are borrowing IQ points from your future self at a catastrophic interest rate. The arithmetic of sleep deprivation and cognitive performance is the most consistently ignored equation in your life. Losing 1 hour of sleep costs approximately 1 IQ point. The second hour costs 2. The third hour costs 4. After 5 consecutive nights of sleeping below your requirement, your effective IQ has dropped by up to 15 points. 15 points is the difference between average and borderline impaired. Applied consistently, it moves you down a full standard deviation on cognitive performance, while you remain entirely convinced you are functioning normally, because sleep deprivation also impairs your ability to assess your own impairment. You cannot measure the ruler with the ruler. Now, the result that the productivity optimization world has no interest in discussing. A 2023 study tested whether higher fluid intelligence protected against sleep deprivation. The hypothesis, smarter people handle sleep loss better. The finding, the opposite. People with higher fluid intelligence were more impaired by sleep deprivation, not less. The advantage that exists at full cognitive capacity evaporates faster than average when the capacity isn't there. The higher your ceiling, the further you fall when the floor drops. You are not sleeping less because you are disciplined. You are sleeping less because the bill arrives slowly enough to mistake for normal.
The Delphic oracle said, "Know thyself." She did not specify that self-assessment degrades under fatigue. Presumably, she assumed her audience had slept. She was wrong about that, too.
Number 1 is what the scientists actually found. You have heard it before. You are going to hate it. Point number 1. The answer raises IQ by 4 points on average. It requires you to be uncomfortable. A 2024 meta-analysis across multiple studies found that structured aerobic exercise raised IQ scores by an average of 4 points. The effect held regardless of starting IQ, regardless of how long the program ran, regardless of age or intervention type. Not an app, not a supplement, not music lessons or dual end-back or fish oil or any product with a checkout button. Running, cycling, swimming. 30 minutes of sustained effort that makes your body wish you had chosen differently. The mechanism is documented. Exercise builds the neural infrastructure that every other point on this list was destroying. It counteracts the cortisol damage from point 4. It improves the sleep architecture from point 2. It reduces the neuroinflammation from point 3. It is not one answer. It is the answer that reaches backward through every other point. The reason nobody wants to do it is not a mystery. Discomfort is the cost. And your civilization has constructed an entire ecosystem of alternatives specifically engineered to help you avoid paying it. Here is where the story becomes considerably darker. For most of the 20th century, the collective IQ of the human species was rising. 3 points per decade, reliably, driven by lead removal from fuel, better nutrition, reduced childhood disease, expanded education. The Flynn effect. Humanity measurably getting smarter through environmental improvement. Not genetics, not evolution, pure circumstance upgraded. It peaked somewhere in the 1990s. Since then, IQ scores have declined in Norway, Denmark, Finland, France, Britain, Australia, and the United States. A study of 394,378 Americans found consistent drops in verbal reasoning, matrix reasoning, and analytical thinking between 2006 and 2018. Research confirmed the reversal is environmental in origin, the same conclusion as the rise. Not genes, not immigration, not fertility patterns, environment. The conditions that built a smarter species across 60 years have been replaced by chronic stress architectures, epidemic sleep debt, sedentary lives, and the sustained low-grade cortisol of an information environment designed to keep you physiologically alarmed and cognitively reactive. You spent a century building a smarter species. You have spent the last 30 years methodically taking it apart, while purchasing apps, supplements, and subscription services and calling it self-improvement. The answer was never how to raise your IQ. The answer was stop lowering it. Move, sleep, remove what is destroying the structure. The ceiling was always higher than where you have been operating. Nobody wanted to hear that, which is the only reason nobody told you. So, music lessons train you for sitting still. Brain training apps train you for brain training apps. Supplements fix deficiencies, not people who aren't deficient. Chronic stress is literally filing down your prefrontal cortex. Depression costs you cognitive capacity that standard treatment won't return. Sleep deprivation hits hardest at the top. And the only intervention with consistent, replicable, cross-study evidence requires 30 minutes of physical suffering and a pair of shoes. The scientists found the answer decades ago. The species keeps renewing its Lumosity subscription. Drop a comment, which of these 7 were you already doing to yourself? Honesty is optional, judgment is not. And that's how spaghetti untangles the IQ industry. See you in the next episode.